That's how it is. So yeah. So hi folks, if you're on, probably waiting. I'm here. Just getting set up, a bit of internet and computer trouble tonight. So let's see what happens. Let's see how long this is gonna work for how this is gonna work for us tonight. But we have a good program lined up for you, so stay tuned, stick around, take a little bit of jingling. All right, welcome folks. Share the live with somebody. Tell them to join you tonight for this discussion with our dear doctor who is already waiting and ready to share with you. Okay, so welcome folks. Welcome to tonight's virtual community dialogue with Caesarina Paul, Paul, as we say. A bit of challenge tonight, but I'm here, and so we should have a very good program. As you can see, it's kind of dark here. Still working on the light because I keep moving, trying to get this perfect for you. And tonight's internet has been really rough. We had some thunderstorms a while ago and some thunder and lightning a while ago. So I think that could have contributed to the slow internet that we're having tonight. So some challenges, but I think we are bigger than the challenges and things will work out. So stick around because in just about a few, I'll be here with you and well, I'm here already. So we'll start our conversation with our guest. But just to look at some of the things that happened maybe for the past few days and in the week. Yeah, I don't want to compete with any music tonight. All right, so I'll say welcome. Let me see who is on with us tonight. I may not be able to see everybody, but those of you who are here tonight, welcome. If you're here, say you're here. Give us a wave. Give me a wave or something. Say I'm here. Say hello. Say greeting, good night, something. So I know I'm not alone. I know it's Friday. Some people are out having a wonderful time somewhere, but I choose to do this on a Friday night for my community, for you, with you, hoping it will make some sense. All right, I see you, Gittins. I see you, Michelle, Nanan, yeah, as usual. You are the faithful stewards. Thank you for being there. Yeah, share the live. Tell somebody else to come and join us tonight, all right? So anyway, today is June Chapo Pie. I wore my Chapo Pie all day. My head started to feel real hot, so I took it off. But it was fun wearing it all day at work. Yes. I also sported a little piece of madras. Well, I wore something madras to work, not this, but something Creole to remind us of our heritage. And that was pretty good. Today is also, by the way, before that, Monday coming, it's Flag Day in Dominica. So wherever you are, start getting your flags so you can have it with you on Monday the 19th for Flag Day. That's our big day as well, where we highlight the beauty of the flag, but not just the flag itself, but what it stands for, okay? Our heritage and the blood of our ancestors, our banana, the purity of our water and all the other things that the various symbols and things on our flag represent. So Flag Day is on Monday, guys. So get your flags ready. Today is World Food Day. Yeah. What did you eat today? What did you eat today? Don't ask what I ate, but I had something local anyway. I ate sweet potato, yeah, for sure, and some other things, but all local by all means. Today is World Food Day, and according to news18.com, it says World Food Day is also commemorated as the anniversary of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and it falls on October 16th. World Food Day 2020 holds significance as this year marks the 75th anniversary of the FAO, which works in over 130 countries worldwide. The goal of FAO is to achieve food security for all, and to make sure that people have regular access to enough high quality food. So not just food, but high quality food. So the theme for this year's World Food Day 2020 is grow, nourish, sustain. It's grow, nourish, sustain together. Our actions are our future. I really like the last part. Our actions are our future. And this highlights the need to work in such a way that every person gets the required amount of nutritious food that lead active and healthy lives. Okay, so World Food Day today. And what happened in Dominica? A lot of things. I know a number of schools had some great activities happening, including all the places where we have 4-H clubs in Dominica. And I can tell you, being part of the youth division, our youth officers went all out in order to ensure that we had our 4-Hers and the schools had a very good World Food Day activities. And so I can tell you, so one of the things that happened is that they prepared meals in some schools and they delivered them to a number of less fortunate individuals in the communities. Some of them on the streets, yes. Others, they also created hampers and delivered them to some families that really, really need them. Yesterday, a number of our clubs or 4-H clubs in the schools planted various seedlings, cucumbers, peppers, carrots, cabbage, all sorts of vegetables and herbs and so on throughout the island. So just to create the awareness on the minds of our 4-Hers and the children that food and what we grow is so important, and that we should grow what we eat, of course, and eat what we grow. So these are some of the things that happened today, and a number of other things. It's Heritage Week, where all the schools have been having various activities to highlight to highlight in the minds of their students our heritage. So as you can tell, our culture is very much alive, and our people are very much Creole and keeping the culture. Just a few minutes ago, there was the launching of Mr. Felix Henderson's book. All right, and if you can get a copy of that, please do. I hope I can get a copy myself, because this man is a cultural icon as well. He really brought the Creole language to where it is today, along with the help of others, but definitely he fought to ensure that we could be speaking Creole very freely in our island. We still have some place to go, because in St. Lucia, I think Creole is welcome in the parliament. In Dominica, if you use Creole in the parliament, you have to translate it. In St. Lucia, it's like almost like the first language with English. So it's really cool. So I'm hoping we can get to that point where even when Creole is used in our parliament, we don't have to say translated, or withdraw it, that sort of thing. Okay, so these are just some thoughts. We want to pray for Felix Henderson. He's not well, but tonight's activity, which was done by DBS Radio and all the folks, who made it happen, was really, really special. And I too want to commend him and thank him for the work that he has done in our nation. And we pray for well-being for him right now, because he's not well, as we know. All right, I just thought I would give you a little bit of that. And so in just about in 2 more minutes time, we will start to talk with our guests. So stick around, take a little bit of our traditional music. It's called a Jingping. Yeah, Jingping music. If you don't know that, if you've never had Jingping music before, this is what it sounds like. So take a little piece of that as we come back to you in just about a minute or so. All right, so we're going to start to talk with our guest tonight. As I bring our music down, and allow me to, first of all, just welcome our guest. I'm trying to get more light, so this thing is right in my eye. That's ridiculous. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this is better. You can see me a little better, right? Okay, so I want to bring on our guest tonight, and we are very blessed and fortunate to have with us a doctor. Yeah, the doctor is in the house. You know what they say, there's a doctor in the house? Well, yeah, and literally tonight we do have a doctor. And allow me to welcome him. Hi, doctor. Good night. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good, thank you. You have better light than me. I like your color. Your light color. Mine is kind of white. Yours is kind of yellow, so it's cool.
Yours is not too bad.
All right, thank you, man. All right. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
yes. So good evening and welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So this is called virtual community dialogue, and obviously we had a little talk about that before. You kind of heard about it before as well. But just to tell the folks a little bit about you, I've known you for a number of years as a little girl growing up, together with you in school, PSS, well, before PSS. I think you went to
We were neighbors.
neighbors, exactly. We grew up as neighbors in ZCAC, yes. And then, of course, I went to Gutter and stayed there. And you stayed in ZCAC, yes, ZCAC fella. And so we call you Greg over the years. And now I see people calling you Wada on Facebook.
Well, there's a story behind that, you know.
But there must be a story in Portsmouth when you have a nickname. There must be a story.
Well, not story behind the WADA, but behind the reason there is WADA on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So I had some patients reaching out to me via Facebook, which to me was a little inappropriate. So they knew my name, Gregory Vidal, but they didn't know WADA, so I switched.
Excellent. Let's hope they don't discover it tonight.
Let's hope.
And then they start looking for WADA Vidal and start calling you again and all that vibe.
Yeah. So that's the reason.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Well, before we go deep into this, let me just say to the folks that this month, October, has been designated as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and tonight we will be talking about the life and work of Dr. Gregory Vidal, and as I said, he's affectionately known as Greg. And for some folks, like his boys at school, like the Curtis and the Curvins and these people, he's Wada. Or who?
Pokey.
Okay, well, you see, that one I never knew.
It's all around, yes.
All right. Okay, so to explore the very serious and dreaded breast cancer matter, among other pertinent issues, this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. Dr. Gregory Vidal is a medical oncologist at the West Cancer Center and Research Institute with specialization on breast cancer. And he's also an associate professor in the Department of Hematology Oncology at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center. Dr. Vidal gives about 60% of his time to seeing patients. Now, I read that on a very interesting article that was written about you just, I think this month, I think maybe on the 11th of October or thereabout.
Thereabout.
Yeah, so it's just a few days ago. They sort of featured you in that I think I don't know if it's a magazine. Is it a magazine or a newspaper? What is it?
It's the Memphis Medical Magazine.
Excellent. So yes, and I saw that excerpt, and it really caught my attention. First of all, the first time I saw it was Mr. Washwood Douglas, I think, sent it to me in WhatsApp, via WhatsApp.
I know. Me and Wash, we and we can talk about that.
Yes.
Done quite a few projects together.
Okay.
And have some ongoing projects. So he's been a really strong advocate for me.
Excellent.
And for Portsmouth.
Yes, I love that. And then, of course, I saw that very article again on Curtis Langley's page, and he was really saying to folks that they need to read this and get to know a little bit more about who this person is. So I was blown away by all that good stuff that you've been doing.
Yeah.
And I bet anybody who reads it would definitely be blown away by that.
It was. I'm really appreciative for it.
Mm-hmm. You're very modest, very simple, very quiet. You have an infectious laughter, I know for sure, and smile over the years. But before we go into the whole depth of the healthcare matter and the doctor, can you tell folks a little bit about you? Where are you from? Who are your people? And just let's go home then.
Yeah. So Greg Vidal, grew up in Zika, Bedford Street, Vineyard Green. We used to work by Mike.
Yeah.
People, I guess older folks would know her that way. She passed in '97 from leukemia in New York.
Yeah.
Majomen was my grandmother. And so, did government school, PSS, college, then found myself, we and the guys, meaning Hakim, Curtis, Wayne, all those fellas. I remember those days when we were just sitting around trying to get a plan for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And struggled a bit, ended up in the US for college and did an undergrad, bachelor's, biology, chemistry. Then my mom passed, and that's part of the story. In '97, I was a junior.
Yeah.
And then decided to do some research, trying to understand a little bit more about what was going on, because the sad thing was '97, which doesn't seem too far away.
Yeah.
There was not much known about leukemia, and so I was just trying to understand a little bit more about it, whether any implication for the rest of my family.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I've always heard is that my granddad, who was Leonard Green,
Yes.
who was from Portsmouth, some of the right on Bay Street over there. He passed, and they've always said he passed of some blood disease, something.
Okay.
So trying to understand what was that. I later learned he probably died of heart attack. Some friends who knew of him from Roseau area, who would come down to Portsmouth and hang, said he probably died of a heart attack. But I'm trying to understand that, so I got into research that way. But I still wanted to do medicine, and after medicine, I later found out I could do both.
Yeah.
I could do a PhD, a doctorate in molecular biology, and I could still do a medical degree. So then I did both.
Yeah.
And that was in New Orleans. Took me about 7 years to get done. And from that, I went on to Stanford in California, and spent another 8 years there, really learning the practice of medicine. I often say you can become a medical doctor, but really getting an MD degree in medical school really doesn't make you a practitioner.
Yeah.
Doing a proper residency and learning makes you a proper practitioner. And so I got the opportunity to get really top-notch, high-class, the experts in the world um, trained me in medicine and then oncology, did research there, and then I moved back to Memphis. And I have been doing all three. One of the things the article didn't mention is I do, um, I donate my time a lot
Yes. They
to
missed that part.
people in, to folks, especially in Dominica, and we can talk a little bit more about our nonprofit,
Yes.
because that's what actually I'm most proud of.
Okay.
The fact that we always believe that given the struggle that we had trying to get to Dominica,
Mm-hmm.
and know that you sort of, we figured out some of the recipe, trying to share that and,
Yeah.
and assist folks is one of the things that we've always believed in. And we meaning me, Curtis, and a few of the other guys, take that to heart. And
Yeah.
so that's sort of a long introduction, but that's my life. Oh, by the way, I have three kids,
Okay.
13, 11, and 8, 2 girls and a boy, who are
Wow.
just beautiful and growing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. You have you're the brother of Burke.
Yes, Burke Vidal in Portsmouth, who is still working. I mean, everybody in Portsmouth should know Burke.
Of course.
Contractor
Contractor.
with his wife and his daughters
Yes.
in Portsmouth. Cletus Green and
Yep.
Kalma. Cletus is my uncle.
So, mm-hmm.
Kalma cousin. Who else?
Vidal.
That Kendra. Oh, forgot my sister. Kendra Sylvester, married to Donnie Walters.
Yes.
Now live in Bourne. That's my sister.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully folks can now place you. Oh, this is who he is. Yes. Very homegrown from Portsmouth, doing amazing things in the world. That's how I see.
So I try to come down to Dominica a lot. So this year has been really sad for me because I'm missing home.
Yes.
I don't have much time, so I don't know. I can't come home and spend 5 days in quarantine. That's just
Yeah.
doesn't make. That's the only reason I'm not home. But traditionally, I come home at least 5, 6 times a year,
Mm.
which this year has just been really hard.
Yeah. And I guess for a number of you, as they say in the diaspora, it's not a word I like, but that's
I
what
don't
people.
like it either.
So it's, but I know Curtis lamented the same thing when I spoke with him a few weeks ago, that he too is missing home a lot, and he wanted to be down for the graduation and all that good stuff. Of course, that never happened. So I saw he lamented, as a matter of fact, just probably yesterday or day before, about his mom, how he wants to see his mom, and he knows that she wants to see him, but it's really it's so impossible right now, and it's very painful. So I can understand what you're saying.
We talked about that yesterday, actually trying to come up with a plan for
Yeah.
when we can go down. Probably between Christmas and New Year's. You'll see quite a few of us down there sometime.
Excellent.
Hey, Kendra. Hey, Kendra.
Yeah. So a number of your people, your family members, Anika, Irma, your sister here, a number of folks are saying hello to you.
Yeah.
And greeting you tonight. So yeah. So you kind of gave us a little bit of background about what piqued you, I would say, quote unquote. Although when I read in the document, it said that very early you had some interest in medicine, right? So it's not a case where because that situation happened with your mom that you truly got interested in medicine. But I think the interest towards leukemia is probably where it all started, on the loss of your mom. Is that
Right.
is that accurate to say?
It's accurate. So I've always wanted to become a doctor ever since government school. And I wonder if it's Caroline. She taught in PSS too. I remember came in and maybe wasn't taught in government school for a little while and taught us sort of cardiology 101, talking about the heart. And my interest since then was like, yeah, medicine, that's my thing.
Yes.
And then when I went to PSS, Miss Aaron,
Yeah.
Joseph Aaron, now
Yes.
that lady, every opportunity I get, I talk about it.
Excellent.
In second form, really made me love science. and appreciate not just wanting to do medicine, but loving science.
Yeah.
And so that just there was nothing else to do but that.
So she must be beaming with pride. Yeah, you can say your hi. Go ahead.
Oh, right. Sorry, go
She
ahead.
must, Miss Aaron, as we call her. Some people call her Miss J, Mrs. Joseph, Aaron Joseph. She must be beaming with pride every time she sees you. If she knows that story, then she feels very happy that she would have inspired you to that extent as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. She's not only talented as in sports, but she's an excellent teacher.
Yes, yes. I can attest. She taught me. She taught many of us over the years. I didn't turn out to be a science student, but certainly I learned a thing or two from Miss Aaron. So I have big respect for her. She's still there trying to motivate young people at best. So we have had some good teachers.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm telling you. And so I still, part of my time is spent teaching.
Yeah.
And I hope I could be half as good as she was. Malcolm there to hey, Malcolm.
What do your students say to you?
So my teaching is a little bit different. It's not like in a class setting. I teach
Yeah.
in the hospital on the wards, training future doctors
Okay.
and researchers. And so at least I try to have patience and try to see myself in them. And,
Yeah.
there's never a bad question. Uh,
Yeah.
and I try to at least approach and answer every question, regardless of how out of the way it might be. Yeah.
Excellent. So I like that you said you try to have patience. So you try to have patience with your students, and you also try to have patience
In clinic?
in clinic. It says that you have a difficulty choosing which one is your true love. You do three things. You teach, as you said, although it's not in a formal setting as a formal classroom, but you teach. You also spend time in your clinic seeing patients, which is what you do the most.
Yeah.
And then you spend about 30% of your time doing research.
Yeah. And then the five, and in between there doing sort of 2K sort of mission type work also, which is not included in there.
Okay.
I do give the other thing that I do as part of this is I give lectures. I give lectures all around the world. For example, tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
I'm presenting on breast cancer for a conference in Dubai
Ah.
tomorrow, and so I do all this stuff all around.
Mm-hmm.
From the research perspective, which is where I think you were getting at, what the type of research I do
Mm-hmm.
is not. My training was the typical research you would think about on a bench with pipettes and doing that sort of thing. But during my training, I really fell in love with what we call clinical research.
Mm-hmm.
You hear right now it's in the news all about vaccine development and
Yes.
drug development.
Yes.
That's what I do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but not in vaccine, we do some vaccine development in cancer, but it's focused on cancer.
Okay.
Most of the drugs that are now approved in recent time came through my clinic and was involved in its development in one way or the other.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we do. So in general, there is the bench research. We recognize that there is a particular protein in the cell that's acting crazy.
Yeah.
Then the drug companies usually say, okay, let me develop a drug that targets that protein. Then they would do that in sort of animals, see if it works. If it works in animals, then they develop a drug and a dose to be tested in humans. And once it goes into humans, the thing about research and treatment is that the drug companies themselves who develop the drugs cannot do the testing on humans. That's just a matter of ethics to
Right.
prevent. And so they then transfer that drug and the testing to people like myself. And so we do what we call the three different phases, and you'll hear it if you listen to US news right now and vaccine development, you hear about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
And phase 1 of trials is really finding a dose that is safe. So phase 1 is really about safety and tolerability. So you give patients the doses in small increment amounts. So you try,
Right.
in general, the most simple is you take 3 patients, you give them the lower dose, they tolerate it. You take another 3 patients and you give them a slightly higher dose until you get to what we call a maximal tolerated dose. And once you follow up their symptoms and their tolerability throughout, and once you can figure out how they tolerate that drug, then then if there are too much toxicity and side effects, then sometimes that drug gets killed. Or if it's too much, then your maximum tolerated dose is where it was best tolerated. And then that dose then gets taken into what we call a phase 2, which is still safety, but you expand the amount of patients in there and you're looking for a signal of efficacy. And once you've got a signal of efficacy, then now the biggest, in order to be approved by the FDA or any governing, we then do really larger trials. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of trials. And those are usually compared to what is either standard of care or compared to something similar that is currently being used. So it's generally what we call blinded, meaning that the only people who knows what drugs the folks are getting are the people in the company way far away. So we recruit patients and we say you have a 50% chance of getting what is currently standard of care. And by standard of care, I mean what we use to treat those patients right now versus the drug we're trying to investigate.
Okay.
And so you get a 50-50 chance of finding one of those. And once you're done getting your patient population, then somebody uncovers it. And then we look at the data and see if the new drug is superior to the other one. And then that drug then gets approved.
Okay.
And that's the phase 3. And I do a lot of that. I also do what we call investigator-initiated trials. So I just give you an example of how the trials get initiated by the pharmaceutical companies. But many times, so I am what you call a physician scientist. So many times I see patients in clinic, I know their tumors, I know what treatment they're getting, I know how they react to it. We do a lot of molecular profile, meaning looking into the cells and looking and see how there's errors in the DNA, errors in the protein. And then because I am treating those patients, usually I can say, you know something, because that patient presented that way, and that drug worked too well on her or him, maybe we should investigate whether a drug that is in trial somewhere can work on that particular patient. So then I would write up that trial and then do sort of the statistics around it and then push it to either the company and say, what about that idea? Can you fund it? Or go to the government, the NIH, and fund those sort of trials. And so those are what we call investigator-initiated trials. And so we do those sort of things, not only for drug development, but for testing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's in a nutshell what I do.
Okay. Very scientific.
Yeah.
Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Yeah.
And when you were speaking, I thought, and I will ask, the importance then of your relationship with the pharmaceutical companies, and the whole importance as well of ethics, transparency with your clients, the people who are quote unquote being tried in order to do this. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that is extremely, extremely well controlled. I know folks always get concerned about, and I get that in my clinic, sort of being guinea pigs, you're trying stuff on.
Yes.
One of the things that there are lots of regulations around it. So I spoke about one of them. The company developing the drug cannot be the company trying to test it on humans.
Okay.
We separate that out. Okay. Um, many times for what I do, because I investigate those drugs, I cannot, for example, speak on behalf of some company because that's a conflict of interest. But for patients, so
Mhm.
for example, um, the basic, now keep in mind, especially in oncology, many of our trials are superior to what is currently standard of care. And so oftentimes we have to try to talk to patients about that. But there are so many regulations around it about which patient can get on. So a patient has to be strong enough.
Mhm.
Patient has to make the decision to come on. So before I get a patient on a trial, I will give them information written in basic language that they can understand, that they need to go home and review. All right. And then come back in clinic and we sit down and we talk to them about it. And only then do they make a decision to sign and go on trial.
Yeah.
Importantly, also, anytime, once you're on trial, anytime during that process, you decide, I no longer want to do this, you say, I no longer want to do this, and you're off trial.
Okay.
And we go to standard of care.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of, there's not any physician can do clinical trials, not any, but it's really, really very well controlled. And part of that had to do with, I don't know if you ever heard of the Tuskegee trials.
Probably
And
not.
those were in Alabama. Tuskegee is a historically black university in Alabama. What happened back
Mhm.
in the 70s was that the government utilized black folks to do testing on syphilis. And so a lot of those folks were infected with syphilis
Oh my God.
and not given appropriate um,
Information.
treatment, and also were not told
Yeah.
what they, and so that went on, and a lot of people died and got really sick from it.
Yeah.
And ever since that, there was lots of regulations around those. And so I'm saying I'm going a little bit more in depth because I know a lot of people, and I hear that all the time, and I have to sort of put out those fires, a lot of those. But I want people to understand that this is really highly regulated.
Yeah. Okay. So do you find that you all have to struggle to get people wanting to offer themselves to be tested or to be sort of like the quote unquote guinea pigs?
So in cancer, this is life or death issue.
Yeah.
And so there are two factors. One, like I said, is that usually a lot of times the trials, the drugs that are being tested is better than what's on the market.
Yeah.
We can sort of know which drugs are really have good potentials and which are not for most part, because folks publish their data as they go along. And so we're always trying to improve upon the next treatment. And that's why for breast cancer, for example, I can quote a cure rate of 80%. And that's not just by chance. It's because women in the 70s and 80s started participating in trials, and then we started knowing which treatments are better. And
Hmm?
so we then can improve on every year. And now we're brought the cure rate down. Brought the cure rate high. Um, so, but so patients can get better treatments on trials.
Yeah.
But in oncology, it again is life or death, and sometimes we run out of treatments.
Yeah. Okay.
And folks want to try stuff in order to stay around a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oncology in general, we do well on trials. There are certain trials, because again, remember, we have to tell the patient all about this. If one trial is looking like it has a lot of toxicity, you find it harder to recruit people. The group of folks, however, we've been having issues, and that's one of the interests of mine, is folks of color. Folks of color do not participate in trials.
Yeah. Oh, really?
No. So they make up, so black folks, for example, make up 13% of the population and probably less than 5% on trials.
Is,
Um,
do you know why?
so it's the history. We talked about the Tuskegee Project.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are aware of that.
Oh,
One, there is sort of just the culture or belief in more natural medicine or distrust of the system. There's sort of a racial uh,
Right. Got you.
to that too.
Hmm.
And then a lot of it is um, a lot of folks don't take the time. Most of the people who are researchers or practitioners are not folks that look like me with my complexion.
Get you.
Um, and so, one, folks don't really trust what they say, but two, um, a lot of times people don't take the time to explain because you come from a sort of a different background. You have to spend a little bit more time with those patients
Hmm.
to let them understand what you're trying to do because
True.
there's lots of ignorance in there, and ignorance in a good way, not necessarily a bad way like we think of it in Dominica.
It's lack of knowledge.
Yeah, lack of knowledge, and
Hmm.
so explaining it in a much better way.
Yeah.
But yes, the problem is with that, some folks might say, yes, that's a good thing, Black folks not participating in trial. But guess who uses most of the drugs?
The Black folks.
All right. When the drugs get approved, we then use that very same drug to try to treat folks.
Yeah.
For example, prostate cancer is really high in Black folks of color.
Hmm.
Colon cancer is high in folks of color. Triple negative breast cancer is high in folks of color. And we're using those very drugs that we test, not on Black folks because they didn't participate on trial,
Right. Right.
on white folks on them and expect to get the same results. And so sometimes we don't get those same results and we wonder why, because
Yeah.
it has never really been studied in you.
Hmm.
All right. And so part of
So,
what I do,
so do you think then that the people of color are somewhat shooting ourselves in our feet, so to speak, because we're not participating in order for them to know or for you all to determine, well, this can work with us, this can work with us, in comparison to another race?
that is true. And we do know that um, we can have differences in success of drugs based on ethnicity. So there are some
Yeah.
drugs in cardiology, for example, that is study of the heart, that works on folks of color better than it does on others. There are some drugs that we're currently studying in oncology that we think have a higher effect in folks of color. So there can be some differences seen based on race. But again, we don't really have a lot of data because traditionally our folks really haven't participated on trial.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's unfortunate, but I can understand the lack of trust
I
concept.
see that. Yeah.
I can certainly understand that. Um, is there any usage, maybe, I don't know if that's the proper terminology that I'm using, but as it relates to getting treatment, do you all refer to herbs or natural treatment as well? I mean, where does that fall into your research as well as,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I don't know if you know, your neighbor also, uh, King, uh, uh, oh my, what? Rabbit and what's
Oh,
it?
people.
Paul, up by you up there, right there. Paul, yeah, they're related to me.
Okay,
Um,
yes, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Zabet and
um,
Zamet. Mhm.
I can't believe I'm
You mean her son, Cameron, her son?
Defa and Defa,
Right,
right, that group.
right.
So if you know anything about my grandmother too, is they were big herbal medicine, all about the
Boots.
boots. Yes, man.
That's
Oh,
the
how
man.
can I forget
That's
boots?
the partner there, yeah.
So it's all about bush medicine. I remember when I was growing up,
Yes.
I had an attack of bronchitis, and they treated me with booze and marijuana tea and all this sort of stuff. I
Right.
always tell folks, I grew up in a sort of herbal medicine family.
Exactly.
So I have nothing against herbal medicine.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with herbal medicine is I just described to you how much detail and finesse is placed in
Yeah.
studying a particular drug to make sure that it works so that we can give patients the best opportunity for survival.
Right.
That's not done in the herbal medicine field. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of folks is what we call anecdotal, because meaning somebody drink a tea and they had a disease And because they got better, we assume it was the tea that made them better. But they were still the doctors on the side. All right. And so we can say that guy over there drank that tea and he did well. And probably it played a role. The fact is, we really don't have very good control studies to say, yes, that is an effective medicine.
Right.
So my business, if I don't give you the right treatment,
Right.
life or death issue.
Get you.
All right. So I am not going to select a treatment that I really don't know if it works over one that I know has been highly studied and worked.
Yeah, that's understandable. Certainly.
Right? So I generally tell my patients, you want to try herbal medicine, fine. But let's do this first. And if you want to add that onto it in the back end, go ahead. But let's give you what I think is more of a guarantee.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that early detection of cancer, particularly breast cancer, and because breast is external, and we tend to find out certain abnormalities because we do our self-testing, etc. So based on that, I think I lost my train of thought there, but I think maybe what I was going to ask you is the fact that, I think you said it, something to the effect of early detection, right? Early detection would save lives. Yes. So I think what I wanted to ask you, do you see good results, like overall, especially as it relates to breast cancer, in the people who come to you? Do you see more of successes than failures in this day and age?
Oh, definitely. 80% of the people, the average person who come to me for breast cancer, I can cure you.
Okay, wow.
All right.
Amazing. 80%.
80%. All right.
Wow.
We may not see those numbers in Dominica. Partly because of expertise and availability of treatment, and also some screening. But we can cure 80% of breast cancer cases. Most important is that with any cancer, finding it early, we can cure it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about how cancer kills, and again, going into my science there, but I'll try to make it as plain as possible. If a cancer develops in the breast, all right, one cell, the cell is microscopic, you can't see it, you can't feel it, one cell. That cell then doubles. Then those two cells doubles, and then those two cells double. And so in the average breast cancer cell, you don't feel that thing. We can't see it until it gets to about 1 centimeter. All right? And you know how many cells are in a 1 centimeter? About 1 billion cancer cells.
Wow.
In a 1 centimeter tumor. So you can't feel it until it has about 1 billion cells in it. So things like mammogram allows you to see it even a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
All right. Now, how those cancer kill, it's because those billion cells or more need nutrients that it gets from the blood in order to grow. Cancer grows and it develops its own blood vessels in order to get its nutrients.
Right.
Now, if it's growing in such close proximity with blood vessels, then guess what it's also doing? Sending some of those cells into the blood vessels.
Blood vessels. All right.
And those cells, all of the blood vessels are connected all around the body. All right? And so those cells can then travel to other parts of the body. All right? And not the cancer in the breast that kills you. Is that friend that it sent to go to what is a vital organ. Because like I said, the breast is a not vital organ. You can take it out and live your normal life. Your liver, however, you can't live that. And so if that cell travels and gets to your liver and grows and then your liver loses function, that's what takes your life. When we talk about our treatment in breast cancer, to cure somebody, we not only have to treat the breast, take the tumor off, surgery, radiation, but also it's absolutely important that they sterilize the rest of the body. Okay. And that's where chemotherapy comes in, hormonal therapy comes in, because that's how we get to those cells that are floating around. Right. Because as long as we can find this growing somewhere else, we consider it incurable. All right? As long as it's in the blood vessels and haven't grown anywhere else, we can cure you. Once it's left the breast and it's growing somewhere else, it's treatable, but it's incurable, meaning that for the rest of your life, you're going to need to be on some form of anti-cancer therapy, and it will shorten your lifespan.
Okay.
And so part of what I do is when we find somebody early, the chances of the earlier we find you, the lower the risk of one of those cells having gone already. All right. But not only that, the amount of them that have gone is lower. And then we have a higher chance of curing this. And so that's why mammograms are absolutely important. I know in Dominica it's costly.
Yeah.
We have to do something about that, making that available, more available for the average woman. But it's absolutely important. But more importantly also is knowing your breast. In the United States, the recent recommendation suggests breast self-exam does not affect mortality, but that's in a population that can have regular mammograms. So in a population where mammograms are not as available, certainly, you've had your breast ever since you were zero, you have grown during puberty. So you know what's normal and what's abnormal in your breast. And if you find anything abnormal, any lump, it doesn't necessarily have to be painful. Most times it's not painful. It could be painful.
Yeah.
But if you feel a lump in your breast, especially if it's not going away, when we're talking about the younger women, teenagers, early 20s, most times it's cyst.
Yeah.
Are painful, and those are not cancerous. Getting up there in your 40s and older, those things are serious, and you need to have somebody take a look at it, because again, the earlier we find it, the higher the chance that we can cure it.
Okay. Wow. And what about men? Because most times we hear about breast cancer and everybody thinks, that's for women, they have breasts, and the guys figure they're good. That's not for them. What would you say to the men?
About 1% of breast cancers are male, really, because you do have, and the men know, when we have puberty, we used to have sort of the tenderness of the chest, sort of like breast tissue, and you do have some breast tissue, and as long as you have some breast tissue, it can develop cancers.
Right.
It's not doesn't happen in a high percentage of men, but it does happen, especially men with family history of cancers and breast cancers, so there can be a genetic link to it, and that's another thing that we should stress. If you have a strong family history of cancers, this is happening, your mom had it, your cousin, your sister has it, your grandmother had it, then there's a higher chance that you will get it, and because it can be genetically linked.
No, is this any cancer? Because if anybody from your family had breast cancer, that you should be concerned about breast cancer, or just across the board cancer?
Cancers. So we have what we call syndromes. So the most common gene associated with breast cancer is one called BRCA. You do have a higher risk of getting breast cancer when you have it. It can be as high as 80% in your lifetime. But also associated with BRCA is ovarian cancer. And sometimes colon cancer. And one of my projects that I'm doing with my trainees and fellows, because we do a lot of testing, is to see, because with all of our testing, we're finding that folks with those mutations may also have other cancers that we don't think is commonly associated, like lung cancers.
Yeah.
Sorry. And we're trying to figure out exactly whether or not there's sort of a low percentage risk and what that risk is. So that's one of the areas of interest and study that we're doing. But so BRCA mutation is one of them. It's not only associated with breast, but other cancers in the family. There can be a lot of different mutations that have a very popular cancer that they are associated with, but they can also be at risk for other cancers. So in general, if there are lots of cancers running in your family, you're at risk. it's difficult for a population like in Dominica because you don't have the testing. But what we do recommend, especially for breast and ovarian cancer, those are the most commonly associated BRCA mutation. If you're having young members in your family with breast cancer in their 40s, your mother, aunt, the recommendation is you should start getting screening at least 10 years before, in terms of age, from where your mom had it. So if your mom had it in 40, you should probably start getting mammogram at 30.
Wow.
Right.
That's amazing. Very eye-opening, shocking too. That's the next step.
But the good thing is that we cure all of them. We talk about the ones that die because it's sad, but we cure most people, and that's a success story.
But the thing is, we do know so many people around here who die of cancer, and we recognize that the treatment, I mean, if someone in Dominica has cancer, to get access to the treatment, we do have some level of treatment here, but sometimes people have to be sent abroad, and the cost is something else. Like it's just crazy, the cost, So for the average person, it might be very tough,
Yeah, I am involved in some advice management of a lot of folks in and around Dominica who have cancers.
Yeah.
Folks always call me and say, my friend have cancer, can you talk to them and give advice? It's hard. And again, we talked about the things that we do from a nonprofit. My institution, we came down to Dominica. I brought my boss down to Dominica maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and we made some offers to the government about, just helping out. I even brought chemotherapy. We donated chemotherapy to Dominica. And it's something that is really dear to my heart. It's frustrating because there's a limit to what you can do because I don't have unlimited resources.
Right.
The people who are suffering from it. And neither does the government, to be quite honest with you. Have the resources that you would take to have a state-of-the-art facility like we have in the US, for example.
Right. So what's the name of your foundation? You keep saying your foundation.
It's called 2K Ohio. And you may have seen it around Facebook. 2K is it's called Precious Portsmouth. So it's a Caligago name. Ohio is a Caligago name for Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And 2K is precious. And so this came up so I told you we were always thinking about sort of paying it forward. And we talked about that for many years. Curtis started very early on, maybe like 15, 20 years ago, just doing small donations to PSS on his own from his pocket. And then he started asking his friends, and we would make donations and we would do that sort of thing. And then finally, I said, we need to do this on a bigger level. And so I registered a 501c3, which is 2K. And then because of that, we then expanded it. What that allows us to do is allow the people who make donations to get it as a tax credit. Okay? And so it expanded into what you know today as the graduation, and we support graduation of PSS, government school, and lately have done some St. John School. And Ashton, so we had to have a board, and so Ashton has been our representative in Dominica.
Got you.
We've done everything from graduation, sporting activity, paying for Portsmouth basketball balls and sports to go overseas. We've done everything from the Home for the Age, our biggest project. We got a grant for about $60,000 to add a piece and refurbish that. During Maria, actually, we raised close to $250,000 US that we spent on the Home for the Age was part of it. Mission work, bringing supplies down, coming in donating our time, spending on food and all this sort of stuff, behind the scenes, donating chemotherapy. I mean, all these sort of things that we do on sort of a normal, regular basis. Do again, I tell you, I work with Washway.
Yeah.
He calls me every time there's a question, somebody is sick, and we work behind the scenes to try to help them. There's a young lady that now I've actually gotten a physician, a hospital, and a supporting nonprofit to provide her some surgery up in the US for free.
Wow.
We need to get her visa because she needs it. She's a young girl. And so we do sort of all of this sort of thing behind the scene. You know, it's not something that we publicize
Right.
a lot.
Okay.
That stuff has to be publicized because we have to raise money that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's actually the things that I'm most prideful of.
But this is very encouraging, and it tells us that there are a number of people from the town who have left but have not left.
Never.
Because your hearts are home, you remember the needs of your people, and you still reach out. So that is commendable to you all. I mean, I speak to Curtis frequently enough, and I know that he has shared some of those things that you have shared here with me. And not too long ago, I interviewed Ashton Riviere as well, who shared some of what he has been involved in. And so it's good to know that there are people like you, Curtis, and so on behind such acts and such important things. But I wanna go back a bit. We said a little bit there, but I want to go back and talk a bit about some of the symptoms that people can look out for, especially for breast cancer. I mean, you highlighted lumps in the breast, but are there other things like maybe discharges and other things that we can look for to be? You mentioned pain, you mentioned lumps. So what are the other things that people can look for?
So certainly, lumps in the breast is the number one. Those changes in the breast, you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of patients who essentially try to wish it away.
Yes.
And say God will take care of it.
Yeah.
And I always say to my patients, and I get that a lot more from the minority population, that you know, God works in many different ways, and He gave me the ability and the knowledge so that I can treat you. So He's working for you through me.
Yes.
And so oftentimes I get folks a little bit calmer when we have those conversations, but you shouldn't ignore anything in your breast. Discharge. So especially when it's bloody discharge.
Yeah.
And it usually means that it's in the duct of the breast. And those, if it just remains in the duct, it's actually sort of a lower risk tumor, but it can become higher risk. But you should not ignore it, because if it's that low risk, that's when you want to get it, so that it doesn't get any bigger. There is what we call inflammatory breast cancer, which is more of a higher risk, more aggressive tumor. And what it looks like on the skin is the skin is really red and looks angry, almost like it feels infected. And a lot of people mistake it for an infection. So I get patients who come in who've been on antibiotics for 2 months and it hasn't changed. Well, I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
So it's really growing. The cancer is essentially growing through the skin or the ducts, and it's preventing that. And the skin can look like an orange peel, what we call peau d'orange.
Yeah.
And so that's what we call inflammatory breast cancer. Once you see those changes on your breast, you need to bring that to the attention of somebody soon, because it means that, I mean, if this is the skin and it's growing in the skin and all this is skin, it could go anywhere.
Right.
And so lumps, discharges, skin changes, especially under your arm, if you're getting those lymph nodes under your arm, and that's swollen and getting bigger, you should let somebody take a look at it, for most part. If you are a cancer patient or cancer survivor and you're having pain that's not going away, because breast cancer loves to go to the bone. That's in your bone, and it's really not going away. then you should probably let somebody know so they can take a look. I should try to make to differentiate joint pain. So some folks who are on cancer
Yes.
medicine, especially the pill, can
Yes.
get a lot of joint and muscle pain for some of the anti-estrogen therapy. That's slightly different. I'm talking about sort of lower back pain. Even those pain, you should have somebody take a look at it and see a practitioner.
All right. Thanks for sharing that.
So let's talk about risk factors.
Sure.
All right.
You're a real teacher. You are a real teacher.
Yes. So risk factors. One is family history. So know your family history and take precaution that way. We talked about that a little bit. Two is what we know is that folks who have higher exposure to estrogen have a higher risk of breast cancer. By that we mean if you started having a period early, or you are late menopause, that means your body's been exposed to most estrogen. So estrogen is a risk factor. Some people take hormone replacement therapy as they go through menopause and know all of those symptoms. Depending on which one you get, the progesterone estrogen mix, those can put you in higher risk.
How do you define late menopause? Is it just when it's beyond 50, 51?
The average woman goes through menopause at about 50, 51 years.
Right. So late menopause would be anything thereafter?
Thereafter. So those folks, and that's just your biology. There's little you can do about that. But it means that you have to pay a little bit more attention to your body.
Right.
Alcohol. Greater than 2 to 3 alcoholic beverages a year increases your risk by about 20%.
Greater. Can you say that again, please? You said 2 to 3 for a year.
Alcoholic beverages a night.
Oh, I thought you said a year. I was like,
no, sorry. No, not a year, a night. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
A day in 24 hours.
Yes, okay.
Increases your risk. Smoking. Increases your risk. And so you have to sort of pay attention to those things. As we know, again, things that sort of lowers your risk, having your screening, again, if you can reduce your exposures to estrogen, exercise and staying healthy. Being overweight increases your risk because fat can store estrogen and also produce estrogen. So you have a higher risk in that population. So exercise, proper diet, and don't go crazy on the diet. You don't have to do.
I know.
Just everything in moderation.
Right.
And so those are usually pretty helpful. Some of the myths that we've heard of here: deodorant does not increase. That's a myth. Doesn't impact risk. No, it hasn't been shown. You hear a lot about sugar and eating.
Sugar. Yes, I have a lot about sugar.
Yeah, you hear about that. I will say that theoretically, it kind of makes sense because what we know is every cancer loves the energy, and the energy of the cells is glucose. And so eating sugar, sort of theoretically, you can say, oh, you're going to feed the tumor because you're eating all the sugar. But guess what? Every other cell in your body also need that sugar. Yes. So you're going to starve the rest of your body at the expense of the cancer cell. And there has never been data to prove that sugar increases your risk of cancer. No. We've studied anti-diabetic medication, metformin, which is a common one. So in the laboratory, it looked like sort of the same pathways, sugar pathways may play a role, and that was a negative trial. So what I tell my patients is that, again, everything in moderation. If you're taking a lot of sugar and you have the capacity to reduce your sugar intake, go ahead and do that because it will make you a healthier person. And making you a healthier person, it means that your immune system now is better able to fight cancers and diseases.
Right.
But there's been no evidence of the direct impact of sugar on either bringing on cancer or making cancer more aggressive.
This is very amazing and eye-opening to hear because I think just recently I heard something about sugar intake. I just
It's
recently because
everywhere. It's
yeah,
everywhere, but it's a big myth.
and,
Um,
yeah, and the roll-on stuff, the deodorant stuff under the arms. Some people talk about if it just keeps you from sweating, prevent you from from sweating, then it's also dangerous and can be cancerous. I've heard all of these things. Now you're telling me that these are myths.
yep. So I don't understand the sweat thing though. I
Yeah,
thought I
I
thought
think
the idea was the aluminum in the chemicals in the thing may increase your risk,
right.
and that can make. I can see theoretically where people can think about those things, but when we look at them in studies, they really
Right.
haven't panned out.
Okay. Someone is asking, Hanika here is asking, what about pressure? I think she's referring to high blood pressure, hypertension.
What particularly about it? Does pressure and cancer have a role?
Yeah, I think that's what she's asking. Are they connected? Probably can does
So
it make you more susceptible to getting cancer? That's all.
having high blood pressure does not increase your risk of any cancers that I know of. However, having cancer can make your blood pressure go up,
Hmm.
um, can elevate your blood pressure, um, can, depending on the treatment that you're getting, that can also impact your blood pressure.
Okay.
We do know that recently there have been some recalls of
Yes.
blood pressure medications,
Mm-hmm.
because those medications had some chemicals in them that we think were likely carcinogenic.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the exception rather than the rule. And so, in general, um, there aren't any cancers. However, blood pressure, I mean, it's important for health. You have increased risk of having cardiac failure, strokes,
Mm-hmm.
kidney failure, with hypertension. So it's important to we keep worrying about this cancer that may come. What's more likely to affect you if you have blood pressure is you may more likely to have your heart, your kidneys be affected.
Mm-hmm.
Diabetes also is another thing that's very common in our people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have to get our blood control
Yeah.
because we underestimate the impact of proper sugar management on the body.
Mm-hmm.
Diabetes can impact anything in your body, from heart disease. One of the things that we don't think about is blood vessels.
Yeah.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
especially the little minute small blood vessels that go to the fingers in the heart. It destroys those things.
Mm-hmm.
So you see people with um, um, blood pressure, diabetes that's under control have neuropathy, tingling, and numbness. It's
Yeah.
because those small blood vessels have been destroyed and it doesn't feed the nerve, and so the nerves die at the end of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing that can happen in the heart, in the brain, almost anywhere. People have what we call gastroparesis. You have uncontrolled high blood pressure, and all of a sudden you're more constipated. It's because those little nerves that is important for moving the food through
Mm-hmm.
the GI tract, those things die, and so you don't move as well.
Do they
Uh,
grow?
say that again.
Can they grow back?
That's the problem.
Hmm.
So it's usually when you get to a certain point, is the management is trying to prevent it from not getting any worse.
Yeah.
And then overall, all of this thing is impacting your immune system. We know the immune system is absolutely important in fighting not only any other disease, but even in cancer. We have drugs now. And so the sexiest thing on the market now from oncology perspective is what we call immune mediated drugs that all it does is it allows your immune system to recognize the cancer as foreign. So
Mm-hmm.
cancers are pretty smart,
Yeah.
right? They're pretty smart in that the way our immune system works is that um, our body makes those cells to fight bacteria. Those cells recognize the normal cells in the body as part of themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
our immune cells don't attack our own cells,
Right.
right? You may hear people who have autoimmune diseases like hypothyroidism. Those are some of your immune cells that has gone awry and attacking your own cell. That's rare. So what cancer cells have done, so say those immune cells are coming by, there's a flag on each one of your normal cells that those immune cells, recognize, and they say, oh, you're part of me. I am not going to attack you.
Yeah.
So cancer cells are cells that have gone awry. A lot of them, what they do is they put a lot of those flags on them. All right. So the immune cell is coming by, and even if it's a cell that the immune cell would normally kill, because it's seen that flag, it says, oh, that's part of me, and it never kills it. What those drugs are doing now is it's blocking those flags on the cancer cells. And then the immune cells comes in and kills them.
Okay.
And that essentially has revolutionized the way we treat melanoma, lung cancer, gastric, it's not approved in gastric, I don't think, but bladder, even in breast. So these drugs are not killing the cancer. They're not attacking the cancer.
Right.
But allowing the immune system to recognize it. So we know your immune system, having a good, robust immune system is absolutely important in helping you fight any disease.
Okay, someone is asking, your sister-in-law, as a matter of fact, she's asking if someone has a total hysterectomy, are they at risk for breast cancer?
Nope.
Okay.
Very simple.
Very simple.
So we know, like, if you have a BRCA mutation, you are at risk for breast and ovarian cancer. But if you've removed it, you can't get cancer in it because it's gone.
Right.
And so, no, there isn't a risk for breast. I don't know of any surgeries that puts you at risk. And I'm hesitating just to go through my mind to make sure I'm saying this correctly. I don't know of any surgeries or procedures that put you at risk for breast cancer.
Okay. All right. There's another question here from Irma. And Irma, by the way, is a...
I know Irma.
Oh, you know Irma. She's your family, so you probably...
Yeah, I know Irma's history too.
That's right. Excellent. So she's saying there is a saying about being a diabetic, and stress can be a factor in being diagnosed with cancer. Please, I know you spoke a bit about diabetes a while ago, but if you can give some elaboration.
So stress. So any disease in your body, diabetes, hypertension, any disease can put more stress on your body. You don't even have to have a disease. Work, family life, all of the stuff. What we do know stress does is impact your immune system. And so if it's not working as well, then you're at risk of developing any disease. Right. And that would include cancer. And so not necessarily diabetes and stress, but stress on a whole. And so it's really important that you, sometimes you can't reduce those stress or reduce stress in your life, but having a balance in your life, not only work, but also having some leisure, having some release, be it church, be it family, be it exercise, or all the above.
Right.
Is important because, again, mind, body is important.
Yeah. Okay. The questions are coming fast and furious, so I'm sending them. Here's another. You saw that one? So does polycystic ovarian syndrome predispose to cancer? And lately, there's quite a bit of talk in Dominica about this particular condition in women.
So polycystic ovarian syndrome is a disease where you're making a little bit more androgen for a woman, more sort of male hormones,
right?
And you are than is normal. You can get a lot of cysts forming on your ovaries. Sometimes you can even get them on your kidneys and your liver. And if I remember that quite well, I think there is a low risk of some malignancy with that. I don't know for sure. I will get back to you on that. But I think that is correct, that there is a risk of some malignancy with it, but it's a very low, small percentage.
Okay, all right. That's good to know. And I hope the folks are satisfied with the responses that they're getting here. And I think from what I'm picking up from you, it's all about us being able to create balance in our lives and try to take care of the body, take care of the mind, as you said, take care of the spirit, because we are, we are spiritual beings as well. So we have to treat that part as well. Okay. I suspect you're probably trying to get a little bit more information on that last question.
Yeah. I was just running through that, and it does talk about endometrial
Mm-hmm.
cancer of the uterus,
Right.
and the endometrium, which kind of, I think, going back to my medical school days, is I think what we're talking about. Yeah, but those
Right.
are sort of low percentage chances.
Okay. That's good. As a person from Portsmouth, um, you know, or what do you envision for the town, as it pertains to health care and or hospital? I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Just
Yeah. I
what
love
are your
that
thoughts
town. I love that town so much.
Yeah.
Uh, it I ultimately I would like to see Portsmouth be healthy. Um, it's important to have really good healthcare service, um, meaning a good hospital, clinic sort of service.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, because of limited resources, we should really be focusing more on preventative medicine.
Yeah.
The United States is traditionally, and a lot of what happens in the United States, because we're so close to the United States, we
Mm-hmm.
tend to adopt a lot of that style of
Yeah.
medicine. A lot of the United States is reactive. They have a lot of resources, so they don't focus as much on preventative. So you get it, we try to treat it and cure it. Um, but most important for low resource communities like ours is um, reducing our risk of getting those. We're doing that with COVID now. That's what mask is doing.
Right.
Instead of treating it when you get it, let's put on a mask to prevent you from getting it.
That's it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of our biggest issues is obesity.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and obesity brings up, I mean, you're at risk for endometrial cancer, breast cancer, cardiac disease, hypertension, diabetes. You talk about it, it's related to.
Mm-hmm.
If you have breast cancer and you have an earlier type of breast cancer and we treat you, you still have a higher risk of recurrence because you're obese compared to someone who's not. Um, and so I would really love to see the community sort of band together. And it has to be something to put, one person doing it is not as much fun. That if we could get sort of community actions going where, people start doing a little exercise in the morning together and starting to be more healthy, watch what we eat. I know we drink a lot of alcohol, there's lots of calories in that.
Yeah.
Americans love that.
Yeah. Especially our men. Sorry to say. I know we have some women too, but the men really, really drink a lot
Yeah,
here.
we're not as active. I mean, Dominicans and Portsmouth people traditionally through school are very, very active. Once we leave school, that goes away.
No, I'm laughing because you said we're not as active. Where I walk sometimes in the morning,
Mhm.
and most of the people I meet walking are women.
Yeah.
Granted, most of the people on the playing field are men. So,
But you look at the people on the playing field, though, those are teenage boys or
right,
young 20-year-olds.
right. But
All right.
the older guys,
They're done. That's not for me anymore.
yeah,
All right.
we
But
have a situation.
yeah, but you are the one who actually need that more than anybody else.
Exactly.
And so that I can tell you, especially from a diabetes and hypertension perspective,
Hmm.
weight loss can often, those things can go away.
In quick time, yeah.
Quick time, just losing weight can
Hmm.
make your body more sensitive to insulin that your body makes. It can
Hmm.
lower your blood pressure. I mean, you overall feel better.
Yeah.
It's really hard to just start it,
Hmm.
but taking it slow. Don't try to do big things. Just
Yeah.
walk when you can instead of hopping on a bus or driving.
Hmm.
Go from Zika to Portsmouth, walk down the road,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And try
Hmm.
to make some good activity in your life. watch a little bit more about what you eat. I know a lot of our food are starch based.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be difficult, but the rice thing
Yeah.
and
And the thing about having several types of staples in one meal. So you have rice, but you want a little bit of plantain in it, and you want some dashing and yam on the side, not realizing that every single one of them turns into the sugar,
yeah,
which is causing the weight. So really, it's probably one you need and not three and four
yeah.
and two. So
And then we put a lot of sugar in our juices. Oof.
here we go. Here we
Yeah.
go.
But again, I don't intend this to be like you picking on
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Again, I know everybody's circumstance is different.
different, right?
But just actually making those every time you decide to eat that you think about it,
Yeah,
and then taking one thing away. When you decide you want to go somewhere, think about maybe I should walk,
yeah,
and just trying to be a little bit more active because we do need to. I've noticed the obesity is becoming a problem,
yeah.
and poor health follows very closely behind that.
All right. Well, I hope we take note and do the necessary. As you're saying, we're not there pointing fingers at people,
Yeah.
but I think the key is to give the information, give the knowledge, and that we, those of us who are hearing it, will pick up on it and do the necessary things to stay healthy. One of probably our last. Go ahead.
One thing I would love to see is like a challenge, a community challenge.
Yes.
Where Portsmouth challenge, Lago and ZCAC or
Uh-huh.
Bond,
Uh-huh.
where the community comes together, you get a health check, get a weight, and we do a weight loss challenge, and
Good. I like
the
that.
community who wins gets a prize.
Right.
Something like that. I think that would sort of motivate people. Competition usually motivates people in the right way. I would love to see sort of like a program kind of like that.
That would be good. I think I'm hoping that Lisa Mills is listening. She has a very good program, and I think on the 24th, that's next week, Saturday, she's having that walk from. I think it's going to be all the way to Bell Hall from the bank, from the NBD area. So
Okay.
I know she's very much into that fitness thing. So maybe it's something we need to do for true. I
Yeah,
like that
probably sponsor something like that.
Yeah, I like the suggestion. I really do.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
it will take a few heads to come together to get it done, but we can do it, I'm sure.
yeah.
So if anybody out there is interested, hit me up and let's get together. Let's organize that walk and that challenge, rather a weight loss challenge between. And you know how you guys, you all like to have that discussion about Lago.
Yeah, exactly.
Zika fellas. So you hear Curtis already saying Zika people going to win,
Yeah.
and then you have those guys. What is his name? The Mark Lawrence France. You,
And Nick
he'll be arguing that Lago will win.
Lago. Yeah.
So we should really do that. Yeah.
I think it would be fun too.
Yeah, I think so. Just before we wrap up, because I know you look. I know you were tired. You had a long drive.
Yeah, it's all right.
Right, but the people are asking the question, so I want to
Let's go. Let's hit it.
Okay, good. So Hanika is asking, is it impossible? I think she's asking, is it impossible to get cancer, or is it
Is it
possible?
possible to get cancer through tonsillitis?
Tonsillitis, yeah.
So in general, areas that get infected do not generally. An infection rarely puts you at risk for developing cancer because of the infection.
Right.
But you can get cancers of the tonsil
Mm-hmm.
and cancers of the head and neck.
Right.
And one of the most, in recent time, common cause of cancers in head and neck is through sexually transmitted diseases.
Amazing.
Yes. So the HPV that we talk about, we're concerned about the cervix,
Yes.
that can also cause cancers. And we do see that creeping up very, very rapidly in folks with head and neck cancers. And again, it comes to the same thing. Smoking also increases the risk of that. Alcohol. So those risk factors.
Okay.
More like the breast, if there's something in your mouth that's you're having issues swallowing, something, a lesion on your tongue, in your mouth that's just not going away, have somebody take a look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Curtis is already what? Look at,
My boy is all about the exercise. If you follow his page,
I just knew he
he's
would
putting me to
say
shame.
Zcac will win. So he's something else. So Patricia is asking, what advice do you have, or can you tell a breast cancer patient as far as dealing with the mental state? Then, yeah,
So I will take that in two different sections. One, the patients who actually are going through cancer and cancer treatment.
yeah,
I know the treatment is hard. Chemotherapy really it is a poison
mm-hmm,
that we put through your body
yeah,
that we hope affects the cancer cell more than it does normal cells, and there are toxicities associated with it.
right,
I will tell you the people who are most active. I'm not saying to go run miles, but you get up and walk and try to be active instead. Even if you're tired, just do some activity. Those folks tend to do better through chemotherapy.
mm-hmm,
Uh, try to get sort of family member and support. I have a lot of patients who try to go through this by themselves.
yeah,
That's hard and it can be very taxing
mm-hmm,
mentally. I will tell you, a lot of folks are just worried that their kids may not be able to accept this as well, or it may be harder on them. And
mm-hmm,
sometimes the kids are so worried about their parents.
yeah,
Um, and they can, we're human beings. We get knocked down and then we come back up. So that's, you just really try to be active. Speak to your physician if you're going through treatment and it's really hard on you. Don't keep it in, because there are certain things that we can do. So we think not everybody metabolizes drugs at the same pace.
yeah,
Unfortunately, when we develop drugs, we come up with one dose, and that dose is applied across the board.
mm-hmm,
Also, though, some people break down and remove this chemotherapy from their body faster than others.
mm-hmm,
And so those who are more slower metabolizers, that drug stays around a little bit more and have some more toxicity.
yeah,
So for those patients, dose reducing the medication has the same efficacy. It's just as effective with
mm-hmm,
less toxicity. So if you're going through the treatment and it's really hard on you, let your physician know, because they can dose reduce this medicine in order to get to the same point without you being it being so hard on you. Now, for the patient who's gone through breast cancer or gone through cancer and always worried about the next thing, and then I see the cancer patients. Once you have cancer, every symptom in your body is seen through those lenses.
yeah,
Everything that happens,
yeah,
you hope the cancer doesn't come back.
mm-hmm,
It's the advice that I give folks. It's easier said than done. But what I try to tell my patients is that you need to live your life.
sure,
Right?
every day, yeah,
Most times in breast cancer, it's not going to come back.
mm-hmm,
All right. So if you live your life worrying about it and affecting your life, and it doesn't come back, you've essentially just wasted your worry.
yeah,
But even if it does, let's take even if it does come back, all right, you've had all this time worrying about it and it comes back. You never really had released your body, allowed your body to get back to normal, because you're going to need that stress-free environment again to fight it again.
yeah,
Just come back. So I often tell folks, go ahead and live your life. If there is a concern, bring it to us. We'll investigate.
mm-hmm,
Right? It's easier
mm-hmm,
said than done. I do appreciate that.
yeah,
You can't stress and make dramatic changes to your life
mm-hmm,
anticipation of something that you don't even know is going to happen.
right,
And so, meditation, anything that you can do, prayer, church,
mm-hmm,
group support, getting group
Support
support.
system, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially for people who have had cancers, and sitting down and talk. There's no better comfort than speaking to someone who's been through this, who can tell you, this is what happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
this is how I dealt with it, and this is where I am now. To
Right.
help people feel more comfortable in their skin and dealing with that. So surrounding yourself with positive people, people who've gone through the experience. If you don't have a support group and you know there's somebody in the neighborhood who has had cancer and been through that, go
Mm-hmm.
on with them and say, I'm going through it now. What did you do? What advice do you have? And usually get those support that way.
But we must commend, I must, from what you're saying here, the importance of the support system. I have to commend the Dominican Cancer Society, led by Miss Yvonne Alexander. They have a very good group going where they support each other and they raise funds to help people with treatment and just on.
I've worked with that group.
I'm sure you did, yes. And Irma is part of that as well. I know Alicia, Christopher as well, and a number of other people who work with them. And just Sunday, as a matter of fact, at Mass, Irma was able to suggest and said that they are looking at forming a local support group, a Portsmouth-based support
Yeah.
group. So
Yeah.
that would be good in the town. And I also, just on Sunday, they had a what they call a drive. You can call it a drive-a-thon if you want, something to that effect, because they had people drive rather than a walk for cancer. It was a drive for cancer.
I saw that on Facebook.
Right, right. So it was really good, and they came down to Portsmouth to sort of conclude the whole thing. So a lot of people turned up, and it created awareness, and I'm sure that they were able to raise some funds as well, to go towards the treatment of other patients.
I do want to say, before we talk a lot about breast cancer, but I do want to address some male cancers, because I know we big and macho men often don't like to do what we need to do to for early detection.
Mm-hmm.
Prostate cancer is a very common cancer in Dominica,
Yeah.
that affects men, where we could use where proper screening can help us detect those things early, and even cure them.
Mm-hmm.
So having PSA checks, for example, digital exam, which is probably the thing most men would say no, but that is really just going through the rectum, because the prostate gland is right there. And
Yeah.
feeling the prostate gland, and you can feel whether or not there are any, because it's supposed to be soft and uniform. And so if there's bumps in it, then that brings up concern, and we know that is a very good tool for detection and early detection.
Some of the macho men say, not them, they're not doing that.
Well, yeah.
That's what they say. They're not making nobody go there, no man play with me. They have those notions.
At what risk?
Risk, yes, yes.
Are you willing to give up your life for just to be called a macho man? I mean,
Right.
at what risk?
Right.
Doing colonoscopies, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, we know in Black males. So in general, the screening guidelines is for screening at 50. However, in folks of color, especially blacks, not even Black male, blacks,
Mm-hmm.
we usually get detection earlier. So really, Black males should be starting at 45.
Yeah.
And getting your colonoscopies, because those things, again, much like the mammograms, those tests are very good screening tools. Not only, and the measure of a good screening tool is not that it is able to detect, not only that it's able to detect the cancer early, but
Yes.
detecting it early does have an impact on how long you live.
Mm-hmm.
If we're detecting it early, but it doesn't impact how long you live, it's really not a good screening
Right.
tool.
Right.
But mammograms are good screening tools. Colonoscopies are good screening tools. Digital exams, those are good screening tools.
Right.
And we should also, once you get to that age, go do it. Man up and just do it.
All right, a little humor right there. You might like that one.
So basically, you saw us how I was up is drink rum and make promise.
That is needs a leash tonight. It needs a leash.
I'm surprised you know that song.
I know that song very
No,
well.
Boca.
Oh,
Curtis.
Boca, yes, me too. I'm kind of surprised that he knows that, but he does. Oh boy. Anyway, I want to say thank you. I mean, there is so much that could be discussed as it relates to cancer. I think it's a subject that everybody is concerned about. With greater awareness, more people are coming to, I think, become aware of the vast types of cancers that are out there, and the fact that we if we take care of ourselves and if we study ourselves, take and know our history. I think I want to take that point as well. Knowing our history, our family history, the medical history of our relatives, that can help us a lot to make certain changes early in our lives. So I want to thank you. I don't know if is there
So
anything else that you'd like to share?
I mean, again, I am willing to talk with anybody
Yeah.
want some advice. Just it's easy. My email address is gregoryAvidal@gmail.com. Drop me an email if you have a question.
Can you say that again? Say that again.
It's Gregory,
Uh-huh.
A as in Apple, Vidal @gmail.com.
Okay.
It's all one word, Gregory A. Vidal.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, very easy, very easy. So anyone can send you an email.
Send me an email. You'll get a response back.
And you generally respond in quick time.
Quick time.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for offering that to the listeners. So, folks, I hope you got the email address there. It's pretty easy. Let me see if I can just add it in for you so you can get it. It's Gregory A. Vidal @gmail.com. Pretty easy. So go out and try to reach him if you need to, so that he can be of some assistance to you, I'm sure. Well, Greg, I really appreciate your generosity,
So
your openness to sharing such wealth of knowledge with us, and your calm, your peace, your humility. So modest. It's very impressive.
I got that from my mom.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
I remember your mom, very faintly, but I do.
Yeah.
I remember her. Yes. So it's nice that you can have that part of her for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you continued blessings and growth in your work that you're doing and the difference that you're making in the world and in the lives of so many families. And I also want to pray a blessing on you and your family, your children, your wife. I'm guessing. So you didn't say your wife. You said you have 3 lovely children. So I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to ask a blessing upon your entire family, that the Lord will keep you all and protect you and continue to give you long lives so that you can continue to serve humanity in such a beautiful and loving way. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You guys have a nice day, and thank you for having me.
You too. All right. Yes. All right, good. So everyone, let me thank you all so much for being here with us tonight and for following tonight's discussion with Dr. Greg Vidal. And Gregory Vidal, we call him Greg, yes. He was, just so enlightening, so much to learn from. You can go back and view this video if you want to catch up on anything that you missed. You will be able to catch up from the start. So you can go back. You can find this video on Facebook or on my YouTube channel, Influences by C. Paul. Okay, so please go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you can know when we're doing such informative things. And if you value this, give it a like, share it with somebody else that they can learn about what we spoke about tonight. I want to give a quick announcement. No, I'm not getting married. That's not it. No, I'm not pregnant either. That's not it. But I have to say to you that I am in the process of offering my books at a discounted price, and that's going to start from Wednesday coming in the evening. You will be able to buy my book for 2 of my books at a really reasonable cost. If you just go on Amazon and search for Caesarina Paul, you will find my books, or you can get the link right from my Facebook page. You should be able to find the link to these books. By Wednesday up to the 27th of October, you will be able, so it starts on Wednesday coming, I think the 21st to the 27th, 1 week, you should be able to get a good deal on my books. Support me, that's what I do. It's simple, it's noble, and I don't ask for anything. All I'm asking for you to support my artistry as well. Thank God. So thank all of you. God bless you. Curtis boy, you're a troublemaker. You are a troublemaker. I will talk to Audrey. Anyway, guys, have a good night. Please remember, let's be very cautious. COVID-19 is still around. We have to be extremely cautious. You do the precautionary things as we are taught. Follow the protocols, the mask, the washing of our hands regularly, just the distance that we have to keep, etc. Let's try to be as responsible as possible. If we protect ourselves, then we protect the next person. So that's the way to go. All right. God bless you all, and go to church. Find a place of worship of your choice. Ensure that you spend some time with the Lord and your family this weekend. God bless you and have a great night. It was my pleasure doing this for you this night again. See you all around. Blessings.